Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives on how to approach a career in the field from different artists, producers, engineers, and other great minds who share their stories on not only what's made them succeed, but also what has shaped them into the people that they are today. I hope you gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you in your endeavors on your own journey towards success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 150 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today I welcomed a Houston native. His name is Zeedub. Me and Zeedub connected, I think a few months ago. I'd heard one of his songs called Kin, reached out to him. I also really loved what he was doing on social media at the time. And we had a great discussion this week, very exciting. He discussed pretty much, his real love and passion for music, working with his close friend, the producer named JB, and what they've been building really for the last several years, since about 2016. I thought it was cool that he started kind of around the time I did, and kind of just our parallels in our stories is very inspiring as well. And, I think just his love for the craft, and continuing to drop different singles and planning a lot more things this year. We talked about the vlog that he had done and what he plans to do with that moving forward, and just those ideas, how you can let fans kind of get a behind the scenes look of what you're doing as an artist and how important that can be. And overall, I think he has a great future ahead of him. He's got a lot of big goals and plans for what he's going to do. And I love that he keeps his team around him and everyone motivated. I appreciate him for, agreeing to do this week, and I hope we can definitely do it again soon. So without further ado, let's get into it. So welcome everyone to episode 150 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today I got an artist down in Houston. See this dude doing a lot of things, dropping a lot of music recently. Zeedub, how are you, man?
I am doing wonderful, my man. Thank you for asking. How about yourself? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, and I've been looking forward to this because I think it's been, a couple months. We talked about doing this and everything, and definitely happy to have you on here. And I've seen you just, like you were talking about before we started recording, just putting in the work. And so I'm interested to know, first off, how did you get into music? How did you get started? What was kind of the inspiration behind even pursuing this where you are now?
So it's crazy, man. I guess before I ever actually started picking up a pen, music has always been my biggest passion. Mm-hmm. I remember whenever I was in elementary school, probably 4th or 5th grade, I remember I would play a game called Midnight Club on the PlayStation. And man, they had a Slim Thug song on there, and I would play it religiously every day. I put my headphones on my bicycle, and I'd be swinging in the middle of the street. My mom was like, "Bro, get that the street, what are you thinking?" And so I didn't really think much of it, Mm-hmm. I was probably in 6th or 7th grade, and I think I had written a freestyle. My brother was like, man, I forget what exactly brought it up, but he was basically telling me his favorite song from Drake, which was Fear, from So Far Gone. Mm-hmm. And I went and listened to it, and I'm in middle school, and I was like, for some reason I just felt the nerve to write something. I don't remember what it was, anything like that. And then later on in high school, probably about a sophomore, and one of my friends, which he's my producer on everything that I have out right now, his name is Jonathan Burton, and we ended up having a mutual friend that brought us together at the lunch table, and eventually it came across that he made beats. I was like, man, let me just throw a verse down for fun. And whenever I recorded it, he was like, bro, your flow is crazy, this and that and the other. And I'm sitting here all right, bro, whatever. And that was probably back in 2015. I think me and him were talking about it earlier today, just how long it's been since we started music, but that a lot of the things that basically held us up on releasing music was necessary and needed to happen, mm-hmm. in order for us to grow into what we are now.
Yeah.
So, but definitely, man, music has been in my blood since I came out the womb, for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And like I said, I didn't know that me and you were kind of around the same age as well, and it's kind of the same for me as far as starting with my friend because we started after high school, like right after graduation, but our whole thing was basically like I was gonna make the beats for him and he was gonna rap. You know what I mean? So it was kind of nice to have someone there to kind of learn from. Was it kind of the same for you? You were learning with him on the fly and just kind of experimenting back and forth and like figuring things out at the beginning.
Um, it definitely was. I would say whenever he initially was sending me beats, so basically we are 2 grades in high school apart from each other. So I graduated in 2016, he graduated in 2014. So in the time that he was here in Houston, we didn't even really talk about music or anything like that. It wasn't until he moved out and it was his freshman year of college and I was a junior. And I recorded a verse on like GarageBand or something like that and exported it. And so for the first year or so, we were kind of working with distance. I mean, he was in Mississippi, so I think like an 8-hour drive for his college in Tougaloo. And so it wasn't until he came back, we were starting to be able to listen to more stuff and sample stuff together. I was able to start picking up FL Studio and how it worked to the point where able to start, getting a grip on making beats. I am by no means Timbaland or anything like that, but, I can definitely throw some hi-hats and 808s down. But it's been amazing learning from him, man, because his family grew up listening to a whole different genre of music than my family did, and they listened to it a lot more frequently than my family did. So it's really cool to be able to, even if I'm riding in the car with him and an old soul song comes on, I'm like, yo, what is this? Even that I love learning from him about. But he's definitely put me on a lot of game, man. Yeah. I would not be working on me.
I was gonna say it is so great to have that too, as far as like, because I know just even being an independent artist or producer, whatever you're trying to do, it's like when you start off, you have so many questions, and it's great to have someone that is kind of going through it with you to an extent, even if like he was a couple years ahead. It's like you're going through it together, you're just learning together and figuring things out and everything, and it's so much better than doing it alone. You know what I mean? Because we're able to do so much alone and like on our own, especially with like technology and the way it is now, and you can get on YouTube and learn so much. Like I learned so much from tutorials and just watching things and watching people that I knew like were professionals at it. But then when you actually apply that and then you're working like in person with someone, that's even better because you're just in real time getting the knowledge to know like what are you doing and how are you making song structure, how are you going to make the voice sound. Like even just working with someone that they're good at songwriting, because I can't write songs. I don't know what that's like. So it's like learning how, for me it was like learning how to craft the beats to be able to have someone write to it. You know what I mean? That was such a big thing as well. So I think that's good to hear that was kind of the case for you, and just working with him and learning together and figuring things out. So that's definitely awesome, man. And you said, go ahead.
And I don't mean to cut you off at all, but it's wild because aside from my friend Jonathan, his big brother Mike Burton, he started on Fiverr probably 10-ish years ago now, and he has the kind of story where it's the same thing, mom and dad are like, get a job, this and that. He ended up staying active on Fiverr to the point where MSNBC just did not a documentary, but basically an article on him and stuff like that. And long story short, reason why I bring him up is because he has helped me with the songwriting process more than like any YouTube video I've watched, anything. Like from kind of, just for an instance, one of them that stuck with me really heavily is basically one of the things that he does is he keeps a notebook and will write random words in that notebook that he thinks of, whether it's like rocket or shoelace or whatever. And it was basically the writing process for, I believe it was Quincy Jones. He was one of Michael Jackson's songwriters as well. But that was the process that he did. He would grab random words out of places and then force himself to write a song on that. So it's really nice, man, to have a family that is deeply rooted into music. Because, like, I mean, my family, they like music, but it's not like they were jamming it every Sunday, like, faithfully. So
Yeah.
it's
I was gonna say it sounds like his story too is kind of an ode to the importance of consistency as well, which is something that a lot of musicians don't understand. I guess is like it could take 10, 15, 20 years to really see real results too. You know what I mean? So like to see that firsthand, even if it wasn't music, I don't know what all he does, but like that's something to see that as like a someone that's just starting out and be like that's kind of an example of like how hard it can be, but it is possible. You know what I mean? So that's definitely great as well. And coming from like the Houston area, did you ever like put thought to how that would be trying to become a musician in that area? Has it never really mattered to you? You're kind of just doing your own thing, and just figuring it out. Like region never really mattered to you. It just you were gonna do music regardless. You think?
I think the region has definitely influenced the way that I sound. I know one thing definitely is that with it being in this region, I know there's a lot of competition, but I know that at the end of the day, having a unique sound that has quality to it and having consistency will outbeat everything else. I don't think it would have mattered what region I was in if I made it, or if I made music rather. It would just be about how heavily I pursued it. Because I think if I didn't have JB and I wasn't in Houston around the music influence I could have just gone to school to be a marketing degree or something, which no problem with that. Just school is not my thing, man. I tried.
You and me both, man. I didn't last in college, so that was a whole thing. But
any questions about it, man? Hey, did you get number 5 right or what? Because yeah, bro, school was definitely strong suit.
I feel you there, man. And that's the thing. It's like taking the road less traveled. You know what I mean? Like how hard that can be because there's like resistance there, and you probably had this as well, where like people, it could be family and stuff. There's resistance there where it's like, no, you got to do this or you should do this, but it's like you just have to choose your own path and just see where that goes. And like how important that is and everything, and how for you as far as just creating music and songwriting and doing all these things, how has that evolved over time since like 2016 to where you are now? Like do you feel a lot more comfortable just from having done it so long to where now it's like it's a lot easier for you to do, or you're always trying to find a new way to challenge yourself to write the next song a little better or like do the next thing just a little bit better?
I think that since 2016, one thing I've noticed is that it's become more of a job in a sense that I'm a perfectionist with my sound. Before it was almost like, hey, just hop on this beat, spit the verse, and that's it. Now I'm like, did I go off key right there? Do I need to re-sing this part? And so that can be kind of frustrating sometimes, and I'm trying to get over that because one thing is that sometimes the average listener rather is never going to actually even hear that difference. So that's one thing. But coming from 2016, I definitely have realized that my verses have a lot more real life content. Not to say that before I'd never talked about it. I've always talked about my life in verses, whether the song came out or not. But I've realized that even with the next song that me and my friend JB are dropping called Upward, the second verse is up to date, probably I think my most self-revealing verse ever, as far as like shedding light to my situation about like the bills are due but I don't get paid for a week or two. It's like, are we going to make this work? So it's that I wasn't rapping about in 2017 or 2016. I was rapping about, am I going to pass algebra? Like, those were the kinds of things that I was rapping about back then. So now I feel like my style is just really coming into like a different era. And especially with my homeboy JB, I cannot pay enough homage to him because if it wasn't for me and I was just on like a generic, YouTube beat, it wouldn't be the same story. And I can honestly say that because, beats, if you can have all the lyrical content in the world, but at some point beats do like have a lot to do with what the music sounds like in general.
Yeah. Hey, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know how you can become a monthly supporter of the show. So if you click on the show description in your podcast platform, you'll see the words support this podcast toward the bottom, and you can follow that link to sign up. You have the options of donating $1, $5, or $10 a month, and that'll be used towards making the show a better experience for you as the listener. That means new and exciting guests, giveaways, and a lot more that we can continue to provide for you. So feel free to click that link and check it out, or visit anchor.fm/provenknowledge/support to contribute today. And for now, let's get back into the episode. And that's super important too, just to have, I think, just seeing that story evolve in real time, you know what I mean? From 5 or 6 years ago to where you were then at life was probably so much different than now. So it kind of reflects in the songs. You know what I mean? It's like the fans can see that as well, I think. And I think the more that you go on, like, it will always evolve. And that's like the cool thing about being an artist is like you'll be able to look back on even now, like 10 years from now, and just be like, wow, it's changed so much. And now we're doing all this stuff. So that's definitely really cool. And I know you've dropped a lot of singles recently, like in the last, even since the year began. I feel like Kin was one of the first ones I heard, and that's like probably one of my favorite ones. But like kind of go into the recent releases, like the stories behind them, why you chose those songs, and what that's been like to put those out and kind of like see how they do with people, I guess.
It's funny because I don't necessarily know what the immediate spark was, I guess. But I remember working on Kin. He played the beat, and it was originally a freestyle. And I'm rapping, I'm blah, 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 speaking of things. And then I'm like, that's how it is with my Kin. Fakes trying to shake at him. And I said the line, and I'm like, hold on, bro, hold on. We got to go back and use that. So I started, rapping, doing my thing on that. And we finished that and put it out. And I was like, you know what, man? I don't even really know why we're holding on to so many songs that are damn near finished. I mean, like I said previously, being a perfectionist and hearing one mistake on a song will keep that thing in the archive for I don't even know how long. So I started combing through it and asking some of my other friends, like, hey, Adrian, what out of all the songs that I've sent you are your favorite ones? Let's make a list. Then I would start kind of combining the lists and seeing which ones require the least amount of mixing. Then I would put those out just to kind of kickstart some momentum. But there was one song called Hit Yo Dance, which is literally just one that we've made towards social media. It wasn't necessarily like I'm in the lab crunching bars and whatnot. We just freestyled it. He made the beat, created a drop around it. But other than that, man, honestly, a lot of the songs have just kind of been in the works over time. And then, recently I would throw a verse down. Like, for example, Get It Fast. I want to say that chorus was wrote probably 3 or 4 years ago, honestly, man. And just recently, 2 or 3 days before I was finished with my job at the airport, I was sitting in the kitchen. I'm like, damn, I haven't even written anything for that song yet. Let me just put something down. And I did. And I was like, you know what? This is pretty damn accurate to my situation right now. Just talking about busting dishes and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, bro, this definitely has to come out.
Yeah.
And so.
How is it to kind of, because I feel like just from what I've heard from a few of those songs, that you tend to dip into different styles as well, as far as the production choices and just kind of like your delivery too. So have you never really been afraid to try different things on these records, and you don't really care about specifically genres, you're just kind of making what feels right, and just as long as it feels good, that's kind of what you're going to lead with?
Yeah, man. It's there's times where JB will send me a beat, it's wild because I have R&B songs in the vault that I haven't finished a verse for, or I haven't finished mixing personally, or there's a lot of different things that we've had hold up different songs. But even dating back to 2015, my first mixtape was going to be called Styles, which is basically just a catalog with a lot of different styles, literally. Because like you said, man, just making what feels good it's so much different from like if you had a label like hovering right over you. Hey man, you got to make this many pop songs and you got to do this amount of. But it's like, nah, man, we're doing whatever we want, and it's a beautiful thing to see positive feedback and to see us creating a lane that, I mean, it's going to be to a point where my homeboy JB doesn't want to be able to have a Zeedub type beat on YouTube because we don't genre. Whereas if you type in, X artists are going to a lot of things with the same type of sound, maybe like piano layered with this or that. But there's so many styles that we do have coming out for sure.
Yeah.
And one thing that you had said was about how it interacts with people. It's interesting, man, because there's a lot of songs where I thought they weren't going to hit with a certain person, whether if it was at work or, I sent it to this person. And one of my homies, Damien, I was like, I don't know how he's going to feel about this shit. Pardon my French. But so I sent it to him on the phone, and he's listening to it. He basically would kind of gather the trash and stuff for all of our restaurants. So he went down, did his job, whatever, and comes back like 2 hours later. I'm like, hey, man, what you listening to in the headphones? And he pulls it out, and he's still listening to Hit Yo Dance. And I'm like, bro, it's been like 2 hours, bro. You're still listening to that? Like, that's love. But it's just shocking to me that a song that I thought he'd be like, ah, man, this one ain't a hit, bro. This man was listening to it for like 2 hours. So sometimes you can't even really gauge who is going to like what. It's just like you make something and it just seems like everybody either likes it or doesn't. So far, nobody's been hating on me, but it's part of it. So
yeah. It's like taking the good with the bad at all times too, and kind of just, having that understanding that, you're not going to be for everybody. Like, obviously there's going to be people that don't rock with it all the time, but it's like, as long as you have the consistency and you have, like you said, the vision for just making great music, like the only genre really is good music, I guess, because it's like, it's more about the feeling than anything for most people. So I definitely think that's definitely important, and it's great to hear, because I noticed that with your sound is just that you seem to not be that locked in of like, you got to make this certain thing. You're kind of just like, we're gonna do this and we're just gonna have fun with it, you know what I mean? So that's definitely awesome, man. And did I see that you recently started like a vlog series? Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, it's funny because I actually have a full vlog that I still need to upload. Me and the producer, Jonathan, I'm just going to call him JB because Jonathan Burton is just short for JB. But me and JB had gone to a canyon in Texas called Palo Duro Canyon, and I basically vlogged everything. I have it all edited, but I'm not going to lie, man, with working, mixing, recording, doing all of the regular life things in general, it does get kind of hard to sneak over to that laptop and like upload this. Yeah. Now, whether that's a thing of discipline or time, that's a conversation to have with myself. But, at a certain point, it does get kind of exhausting. It's like, all right, man, I need just a second to breathe. And it's like, oh, snap, well, I got to go record this. So, but definitely, and a lot of the reason why I'm even making that vlog, man, is because not enough artists show who they really are to their fans. It's more of just like an image. As far as like Drake, some of my favorite artists, man, I've never seen them upload a vlog or like a behind the scenes of their tour or, whatever it is. So it's like a lot of us don't know, does Drake even own a dog? Like, does Drake ever like, this or that? It's like we don't even. So one thing that I wanted to do was really try and tap into that YouTube avenue and use it for its advantages instead of kind of just leaving it out like, the one that everyone forgets. And, one thing is YouTube can bring in a lot of revenue, and a lot of people don't see that. Unfortunately, I'm not the most paid right now, so people may not listen to me, but it's one of those things that if you know how to utilize it correctly, man, it'll make you a lot of money. And that's another reason why, the vlog, just to kind of bring more attention to it. But like I said, that primary one, man, is just making yourself more accessible to fans.
Yeah.
Just being a name.
I was gonna say because it definitely caught my attention, and I was like, that's a really great idea. I did kind of vlogging like 4 or 5 years ago. Like it would be me and my friend, and we would just like put the camera and just film all this stupid shit we said for like the whole studio session. So like we would do like one a week, and then kind of like what you said, where things happen, life happens, like you kind of get to a point where you're like, okay, I can't really do these like all the time now. So like I'll do stuff like that every once in a while. But I think what you just said about the idea of giving people like an inside look is basically what it is. It's like behind the scenes of what's actually happening, of the things that they might not see. And for song creation too, that's like a huge thing for like fans want to see that stuff. You know what I mean? Like you said, some of your favorite artists, they probably never we don't know anything about their personal lives. To an extent, that's good. Like I would be the same way to an extent, where I'm like, I'm not going to let people know every nuance of my life, but you also want to let them in to be like, let me just show you what we're working on, or let me show you what's like coming. So I always thought that was a great idea, and just kind of like doing that even in like YouTube obviously, but doing that in like social media content too has always been a thing for me, to be like, let me just figure out how to connect with them like a little bit differently than maybe someone else is. Or maybe not just like post a photo, like let's post a video and like talk about a story, something that happened to me, or like something that people might be able to relate to or something. So I think it's a great idea, man, and I'm looking forward to seeing like what you can do with that whenever you get around to doing like stuff more consistently with it, or whatever your plan is, because I think it's great. So
it's funny. I mean, aside from the Palo Duro trip, I mean, the only thing I really got to shoot with it, man, unfortunately. So on the third day, we went out to Colorado, and we just started hopping from place to place, and I really just left the camera like off, and I never actually like shot anything else until I got back home. So it's like it just abruptly ends. But I was like, I'm gonna shoot an outro at least, just explaining what happens, so that I can post. Because it is like 11 minutes of funny stuff and just a really dope experience. But I also have another one where I wrote a song at the end, but the problem is like adding those lyrics onto the screen became a pain. So I got to export it, do something on my phone, then re-airdrop it. It just becomes a thing.
Yeah.
But you'll have a few in the works coming, so stay patient.
I was going to say, I think just stuff like that can set you apart too. So I just think it's a great idea regardless, and just being able to like utilize stuff like that in the future too, because it's those types of ideas, like those are timeless, you know what I mean, because you're just trying to make that human connection at the end of the day. So definitely love that, man.
Appreciate that.
Last few questions here. Well, the first one I guess would be, what can we be on the lookout for basically for the rest of the year, as far as visuals, the music, anything else that is kind of coming up that you want to let people know about?
So the first piece is going to be called 2018. That's the first release. It really doesn't have a necessary like exact release date at the moment. My homeboy JB is still mixing the last of the tracks, but basically what it is going to be about 7 or 8 songs that we made back in 2018 and just procrastinated on releasing. We're like, bro, these are fire. Why are we still holding on to these? Everything is recorded. Everything can be mixed. We just didn't really know what the holdup was. So we're dropping that. And then after that, the next one will be another EP, probably about 6 or 7 songs. It's just, the fact is, there's always new ones being created that are bumping one off or adding, and it's hard. But it's just going to be called That Good-ish. Basically like a play on words, like, yo, bro, have you heard that good-ish? Oh, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So those are the 2 things that I'm working on right now. Like I said, 2018 is just about done. That Good-ish is still kind of tweaking things. Some things have to be like remixed, or a verse might be missing for it, but I'm in the stew, man. I got the laptop open right here. Rocking her.
Nice, man. And I'm excited for all that, man. So I'll definitely be checking it out whenever all of it starts dropping, for sure. So great stuff, man. So we got 3 more questions here. These are ones I ask on every episode. And the first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
That's a good question, man. Because it's like, it's almost, I want to tell myself, stay consistent and this and that, but it's like, I don't want myself to have made it back then. Because I didn't know anything about record labels. I didn't know anything about, bro. Only thing I knew about a 360 was an Xbox. I didn't know there was a 360 deal. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, you know.
I need that on a t-shirt.
yeah. It's like, I want to some things, maybe eat a little healthier. That's probably what I would give myself. Yeah. But honestly, man, everything that's happened up to this point was necessary to be where I'm at right now. It's a good question.
Yeah, I love that. That's funny. That's so good. I wonder if you wore that, how many people would get it though? Because a lot of people don't know what a 360 deal is, so they'd be like, "What does that mean?" Like, you might get like one person, your like music friend, be like, "Oh, that's a good one." Like everybody else, what?
Everybody's gonna
yeah.
Like, no, I do, but let me get that straight.
Yeah. It's like, I know you like Xbox, but what does that mean? Oh, that's great. So if we flip it then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in music, in your life in general, all that stuff?
I'll be honest, man. I journal this a pretty damn decent amount. I want to be not the greatest rapper to ever do it, but the greatest musician to ever do it. Because for me, we're going to be making a lot more than just rap. Whether it's like reggaeton albums, because I mean, I'm half Spanish, so I have a pretty good grasp on it. I'm not going to say you can drop me in Tijuana and I'm going to be fluent with it like that, but I'm pretty damn good. If me and my friend, were to collab on a song like that and write it, we can drop that. We can drop something like Michael Bublé, like the opposite list, And so, with being said, though, with music comes a platform, and what I do with that platform, I plan to make foundations, make charities, do greater things than just make music, because obviously we love to drop things, but at the end of the day, the music inspires people, and I want people to be inspired to do better. That's one thing that I feel like lacks in music right now is a positive message, period, just in general. But even in my notebook, man, I have ideas for the Stay Humble Foundation, because I live in Humble, Texas, but it looks like Humble. People won't know the difference. So whenever I do stuff like Stay Humble or whatever it is, it's kind of a play on my hometown, but I want to do foundations and have like charities for the homeless, have charities for single moms, people with mental health issues, just all different types of stuff, less fortunate. But yeah, that's definitely where I see myself in 10 years, expanding, like I said, just not with just music, but also making a difference in the world. Shoot, doing movies, voiceovers, whatever it is. I just feel like I'm barely scratching the surface of talent as far as rap goes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And it's going to be exciting to see that journey kind of unfold. So I think you're going to get there, man. That's great stuff. So do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Man, consistency and discipline. If there's one thing that will take you further than anything, it's going to be discipline. I know one thing we like to look for is motivation, but motivation is only temporary, man. It'll be gone. But discipline and staying consistent is something that will always give you positive results, whether it's overnight. Another thing is nothing good comes overnight. I mean, shoot, you're going to have to be putting in hours for something if you want it to be worthwhile. That's definitely one of the hardest things for a lot of people is staying consistent, even whenever it seems like there's no progression. The last part that I'd probably say is, man, just stay consistent with it no matter how many eyes are on it, because even Drake had concerts where there was only 6 people there. So just got to keep staying consistent with it. That's about it, man.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. And I think you are a testament to that, man. And keep doing your thing, because I think what you're doing is great, and just really looking forward to, like I said, seeing all the music, seeing everything else you got coming out. You and your team doing great stuff. I love the diversity. I love the creativity of it all. So congrats, man, and keep it up.
Thank you, sir. I will do that, man. I appreciate you. I genuinely do appreciate you for having me on your schedule, man, taking time out of your day to talk to me.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. That was episode 150. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.